Hi, today we're going to cover an approach to change management, Digitising HR by Silver Cloud HR. The content. We're going to cover a change management overview, case for change, readiness assessment, the change impact assessment, some top tips, change management models, and a conclusion. Change management overview. There are different types of organisational change. These vary from developmental change, transitional change, and transformational change. Developmental change is where an organisation changes to improve and optimise its previously established processes, strategies, and procedures. Transitional change is where an organisation moves from its current state to a new state in order to solve problems such as mergers and acquisitions and automation. And transformational change is what radically and fundamentally alters the culture, core values, and the operation of the organisation. However, for most HRIS implementation programs, that fall under developmental change. So what is change management? Change management is the activity that focuses on preparing and supporting individuals, teams and organisations during a transformation in order to ensure acceptance of the change and the adoption of the new ways of working. The purpose of the change management is to implement the strategy, making sure it's effective, controlling the amount of changes that happen, and helping people adapt to those changes, which is key when you're trying to actually implement a new system. Why is change management important? Change management is actually crucial and is critical. It enables the success of any cloud HR implementation. Organisations must successfully manage the changes effectively by the new system if they want to deliver maximum value from their implementation. Even though cloud solutions tend to be quite user-friendly, change management still plays a key part in the successful implementation of the solution, new ways of working and responsibilities. Well-planned and executed change management is critical because it provokes meaningful discussion by the organisation. It ensures the stakeholders' engagement is appropriate, coordinated and supportive of the change. It enables the leaders to guide their employees through the implementation and show their support for the project. It ensures that the organisation is ready, willing and able to effectively implement, sustain the new system in a positive way. It ensures acceptance of this change and the adoption of new ways of working by the organisation. So overall, it's actually really important. What are the principles of change management? First of all, organisations must understand what the problems are. Diagnosing. Why do we want to change? Lead with the culture. Is the organisation ready for the change? Will they welcome it? Will they challenge it? The start at the top. This type of changes need to be driven top down. Make sure you involve every layer along the way. Build those relationships. Provide clear instructions so that everybody knows exactly what they're supposed to be doing and when. Be transparent with your communication. And make sure you give training to your workforce to ensure that the system that they're going to be using is fit for purpose. Components of a change management strategy. When you're thinking about putting together a change management strategy, you must think about different elements. You must write your case for the change. Why are you making the changes? Describe the rationale behind the business drivers, the objectives, the cultural changes that you will see, and the business benefits. Make sure you don't forget those. Think about completing a readiness assessment. Is the organisation actually ready for that change? Assess the organisation's ability to adapt and accept the change. What might interfere? with the successful adoption and whether new processes and skills are required and in place. Conduct your change impact assessment. How will this impact our organisation? You should complete this to provide greater structure for your project, enabling the scope and the impact of the wider understanding and identification of any risks to the organisation that you could be facing and how you plan to deal with those. It is key that you think about your change management strategy and how you plan to do this. There are 7 R's in change management: raised, reason, required, risk, resources, responsible, and relationships. First of all, who actually raised the change? What was the reason for that change? What return is required from the change? Are you losing heads? Are you improving processes? Are you simply wanting an upgrade to what you have? Are there risks involved in what you're trying to change? Will you need resources to implement your new system? Who will be responsible to build it, test it and implement it? Because resources will be required. And what is the relationship between this change and any other changes that the organisation may be going through? You won't be able to do it alone. Make sure you include different parts of the organisation to ensure there are no gaps when you're implementing your change. The case for the change. What is the case for change? The case for change is clearly defined by compelling reasons for the change at the beginning of a project. It is used to enable leaders and key stakeholders to gain alignment and early buy-in. It is developed at the beginning of a change program and informs all change management activities, including the change strategy and plan, communication activities and success measures. Given its critical importance and impact on future activities, the case for change should be reviewed and signed off by executive sponsors or the steering committee. So what components should you think about when you're thinking about the case for change? Why are we changing it? What are we changing? What gets better if the change goes ahead? What's the risk? What levels can we pull to help us make this change? What are the barriers to the change? What's in it for me, for us, for the business? How will we measure the success of this change? These are questions that you should be asking yourself to make sure that you successfully land this project. You set clear goals and objectives. Define them early on, make sure they're timely, and they're also very critical to the success of any project. Most changes get implemented with a goal to improve current processes, products, services, or organisational cultures. There are some common change management goals and objectives that you may want to include. Here are some examples. Building a culture of innovation, change or update company's best practices, implement new technologies, establish milestones and incentive programs, implement knowledge sharing initiatives, and shift in targeted customer base. Leadership and alignment. Leaders will have a big impact on your project, so you must make sure that you engage with them. If your leaders are not convinced about the benefits that it will bring, it will be harder to implement. Your change may have been driven by your leaders, but you need to make sure that they're all on board and they know the reasons behind the change is required. Poor leadership and lack of alignment amongst leaders are sometimes reasons why the organisational change actually fails. So make sure you understand the differences and the different trigger points that those senior leaders have in your organisation to help you along the way. Resources. Identifying resources needed to make that a success. Resources and individuals that will facilitate the process and lead the change is crucial for the success. If you don't have enough resources or enough commitment from the business, you will not be able to land this change successfully. Your approval process. Sometimes in projects, you get slow approval processes. and this can impact in the timescales of your delivery. Organisations that are not agile actually struggle to implement any changes, and it's important that everyone's on exactly the same page, so there's processes and approvals happen smoothly and on time. Planning. Every change management project should have a well set out plan. You more than likely will work with your project manager from the vendor that you choose from on the plan and make sure that you both agree on the dates that you're putting forward. The plans should be consistent of the timeline and change milestones should be identified. Without planning, it may be hard to understand the overall success of any change process. Change readiness. Change readiness assessment. What and why should you conduct a change readiness assessment? The change readiness assessment provides a framework for assessing how ready an organisation is for implementing change. It enables leaders to assess the risk they're taking in proceeding with the implementation by showing the areas where the business is not prepared for the change. Therefore, you will be able to plan and mitigate potential risks. It develops during initiation and is used during the course of the project, and most importantly, the change readiness assessment is used after user acceptance testing has been completed to help make a decision on whether we should move on to deploy and go live. Change readiness assessment tool. Change readiness data can be gathered via online survey, face-to-face interviews and conversations. And you can use the following tool to help you establish your organisation readiness for that change. Vision and case for change. Is there a convincing reason for us to change, and do we understand the benefits? Does the programme have a clear vision of success? Project plan and resources. Does the programme have an understanding and sensible plan? Do we have the right resources in place on the programme and in the business? Leadership and communication. Are leaders demonstrating support for the programme? Does the programme communicate with business effectively? Organisation and people. Are we capable of successfully implementing this programme? Do we understand how this will affect people's roles? Have people been given the necessary skills to perform the roles in the new working environment? Commitment and motivation. Does the business have the motivation to go ahead with the change? Are people committed to ensuring the programme is a success? Without some of these elements within your change readiness assessments, it will be hard for you to make the change happen. The data is then transferred onto Change Readiness Action Tracker, and you're able to identify who your stakeholders are, any concerns they have, the category they fall under, the risks, so for example, how the risk will impact the successful outcome of the programme, any mitigating action that you have, and who's going to take an action to make sure that it's tackled. Behavioural change. In evaluating your organisation's readiness for change, you will need to consider how to successfully change their behaviours. To sustain these changes, people need a burning platform for change supported by leadership, very key, a deep understanding of the changes and their implications, to believe that there's something in it for them. Always best to land a change where there's something in it for them, as well as for the organisation. To be involved and to have a voice in any decisions. To experience early successes and gain confidence in the organisation and their own ability to successfully execute this. And to see a sustained effort and perseverance through the inevitable obstacles and setbacks. So make sure you understand behaviours. You may find that there are some conflicts to be had. Change programs can develop emotions of uncertainty and fear with current teams. Some employees can become frustrated and take their frustration out on others, which is not very nice to watch, but it does happen. Organisational leaders are key in overcoming difficulties and resolving these conflicts. Active leaders should be ready to dive deeper into problems. So if you have a problem or if you have a conflict, make sure you raise it early on so it doesn't stop the program or doesn't slow things down. You may also experience change resistance. So some employees will be resistant to change because that's just natural human behaviour. They may have lack of commitment and not want to collaborate or commit to new practices. These are normal behaviours that you will see throughout the project. Leaders must address resistance on a psychological level and proactively remove behavioural barriers that restrict the change. There are different models out there that organisations can follow. Kubler-Ross change curve is quite a standard one that most of organisations I've worked in tend to use. It looks at emotional journey that individuals can experience during the change and transition. It defines it into 5 different levels: shock and denial, anger, depression, bargaining and acceptance. So you can see how an employee's behaviour will change throughout the journey. And it helps predict how people will react to the change, resulting in being able to help them make their own personal transitions and make sure that they have the help and support they need. Nudges theory, another different model that is sometimes used, works on the basis of encouraging people to make decisions that are in their broad self-interest. It's the science behind subtly leading people into the right decision, and this is done by making it easier for them to make a certain decision. Clearly define the change, consider changes from the employee's point of view, use evidence to show the best option, present the change as a form of choice, listen to the feedback, limit the obstacles, and keep movement with short-term wins. Now let's look at the change impact assessment. What is a change impact assessment? The change impact assessment is used to identify and analyse the impacts that a project will have on an organisation. It identifies the area within the organisation where change interventions may be required and supports the development of change management strategy and plan. A high-level change impact assessment is completed early on in the project, and more detailed change impact assessments can be completed during a project to assess the impact within each business unit or area. Here's an example of what a change impact assessment could look like. You detail your business area, the change summary, so what is happening to that particular area, who's impacted in terms of stakeholders and the roles and responsibilities, description of what that change looks like, the benefits of it, the type of impact that they may be imposed with. So for example, it could be technology, a process, the description of it, the degree of the impact, so is it high, is it medium, is it low, and any anticipated risk that you may be able to anticipate for that particular business area. Communications. Communications are crucial for the success of a change management project. The cost of poor communications can be significant. Little and often, keeping affected parties engaged in the process will help successfully land a change. Remember to ask for input and involve affected personnel every step of the way. Every employer that has successfully changed management teams express the need for constant communication during the change experience. Make all documents accessible and easy to find. And if you haven't got an intranet page, I think that you may want to consider one throughout the duration as part of your communication channel with your employees going forwards. Change management top tips. Here are some top tips that we've designed and we believe are to help in any kind of change management process. Define clear goals. Be honest and transparent. Provide visible and active sponsorship from leadership to support people embracing the change. Provide regular updates to senior leaders and key stakeholders even if there's nothing to say. Sell the benefits by demonstrating mobile and self-service features that save time for employees. Design a proactive an interactive communication strategy to build awareness and buy-in and maintain momentum. Encourage conversations, knowledge sharing, and listen to your employees. Identify potential businesses and job impacts that will result from the system implementation and from self-service mobile access. Use online learning and webinars and demonstrate the ease of navigation of the new system. Make help and guides easy to access and relevant, and make use of them. Identify a network of change champions across your business with the right capabilities, influence and credibility. Recognise and reward those employees that have gone the extra mile to drive the change, and make it social and drive company awareness. These things and these elements will help your change management be a success. So in conclusion, what do I want you to leave with today? Change management is key to the success of any project. Communication and engagement plays a key part, so don't underestimate this area of your project. If you follow change management principles, you will set yourself for success. And there are many models that can be used and followed. Use whichever one is appropriate for you and for your organisation. There is no right or wrong answer.